The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
And now we're going to transition to one of the most important topics that's happening in the United States of America right now. Okay, so if you've been ignoring it, shame on you. I haven't been ignoring it. I've been staying on top of this. I've been keeping abreast of the cold case posse investigation that's been going on for years now. All right, now, we've also been in conversation with someone who we believe is exactly what we represent and the type of constitutional peace officer that we love to support. And I'm going to introduce you once again to somebody who's been on the show, I think, once or twice. His name is Chief Kessler. He is a constitutional peace officer, and he has just now come off of a convention in the state of Missouri for the CSPOA convention, where he witnessed the presentation by Mike Zullo that was given to all peace officers and sheriffs across the country that went to the CSPOA. Mr. Kessler, Chief Kessler, welcome back.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.
Good. I wanted to, there's so much more that I have to say to introduce you, but ladies and gentlemen, we're going to provide all the links on today's episode. If you don't know who Chief Kessler is, you need to find out ASAP. You're about to find out who he is and what he represents. Number one, he is a constitutional peace officer, period. He, in Pennsylvania, in your jurisdiction, I'm calling it your jurisdiction, your local hometown, you are the police chief for Gilberton, Pennsylvania. You're defending the constitutional rights of your residents.
Yeah.
Essentially. Mm-hmm. Now, this CSPOA meeting, obviously, I'm sure you got a lot of great information, but let's talk about the presentation that was given by Mike Zullo. What was your overall impression of that thing? What did you know about it going into it? Did you know much about the investigation to begin with?
Well, to tell you what, Pete, I had no idea about Mike Zullo and what they're doing. And I could, I admit, hey, my head was in the ground with this one. But after the presentation that Mike gave, the public presentation, it really opened up my eyes. And especially after the one that was a closed-door session for the law enforcement only, mm-hmm. that really opened up my eyes. And I told Mike, whatever he needs from me to assist him and Joe Pyle, Sheriff Joe, he has it. He has my full support. Because this isn't a game, people. And I'm far from a conspiracy theorist. And what Mike did for the past 21 months is unbelievable, rock-solid evidence. I can't get into the logistics of it. Okay. As far as what went on behind the closed doors, Mike can get into that if that's what he chooses to do. That's not my place to say that.
You're a police chief, and you don't have to disclose that. We don't want you to disclose the confidential side, okay? But I want to ask you this. I want to take your temperature. What you saw, and I know with respect to the birth certificate itself, that actual document, that it's indisputable evidence that document is a fraud. Now, what you saw behind closed doors, is that additionally some more indisputable evidence that's going to be coming out?
Well, I can tell you one thing. If we were scheduled for an hour presentation, now I believe Mike's report was a 380-page report, from what I gather. He tried to shrink that 21-month investigation into an hour. They gave him an extra hour. What Mike has would take at least a week to get through.
Wow.
Now he tried to go through as much as he possibly can go through.
Right.
Okay? But I can tell you one thing. If your skin isn't crawling after you hear what's about to become very public very soon, if you're not enraged, then you're not an American.
Wow. Okay, so right now, let me tell you this. This is what I do know, and we're going to have Mike Zullo on the show tomorrow. What I do know is that birth certificate is a fraud. It's indisputable.
Absolutely.
It could be brought forward. Okay, you're saying that on top of
I will agree.
You're saying on top of that, it's going to be some skin crawling stuff. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Really?
The birth certificate is just the tip of the iceberg.
Got to be kidding me.
That's just the tip of the iceberg. And
wow.
I like to look at all the evidence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a police officer for the last 16 years. I like to look at the evidence and make my own decision, saying, "Hey, is this true, or is this BS? Is that true, or et cetera, et cetera?" And you got to weed out all the stuff. I tell you what, Mike did a great job. He weeded out all the garbage, and what he has is 110% rock solid.
Rock solid.
The birth certificate, that's just the tip of the iceberg. This goes I guess I can't get into the logistics.
I understand. I don't want you to breach that confidentiality. Absolutely not, because we don't want the bad guys to find out in advance.
Exactly. Everybody knows about the birth certificate, and you know, I was one of them. Like, yeah, he released it. Now it must be real. I was one of those guys who I drunk that Kool-Aid on that topic, you know, and I just moved on. There's a complete media blackout on this investigation, which I had no idea. I had no clue what Mike was doing until I met him on Friday. First time I met Mike Zullo was on Friday at the airport in a car riding to the hotel.
That is outstanding. And did you know who he was at the time?
No, I did not.
Oh my!
I didn't even know. I had no clue until later on we start talking. He's like, "Oh, I'm from Arizona, Joe." Then he mentioned Joe Arpaio. I'm like, "Are you Joe's boys?" And he's like, "Yeah, yeah." And I tell you, I give these guys credit. Mike knows his stuff.
Susanna, are you there? Susanna Cole is there. I know she's listening to this.
I am. I'm here. Yes.
So it just so happens that at the airport, Chief Kessler and Mike Zullo get in the same freaking vehicle and go to the CSPOA conference. How many people were at that conference?
Intervention at its finest, right?
Yeah. How many people were at that conference, Chief?
Around 300.
Yeah.
Somewhere around, give or take a few, around 300.
Nice.
But for you guys to show up at the same exact time, jump in the vehicle, and yeah, that's an amazing story. Divine intervention, right?
I tell you, Pete, if you ever get the chance to meet Mike in person, he's a great guy. He really is. He's he's a true American, and he loves his country, and he truly believes in what he's doing. I can tell you that right now. He's not. I spoke with the guy. He's down to earth. He's a good, wholehearted man. He really is.
Yeah, these guys are fighting. And Sheriff Arpaio, oh my goodness, every time he comes out, you know, with the cold case posse stuff, the guy's getting bombarded with immigration issues. And then next thing you know, they're shaking the place down with the IRS or whatever it is that's been happening to him from the heavy hand of the government. But we know how the government operates. When you start doing something that they don't like, they send the IRS after you with the gun goons. That's how they try to shut you down. That's what they've been trying to do to Sheriff Arpaio. Now, Mike Zullo, I know, has been fighting this fight, but doing so swift, silent, and deadly. And what you're saying that he's collected evidence. This is from a police chief's perspective. This indisputable evidence is going to come out. Here's what I want to ask you. Were there politicians in the room at the time to see this information?
I believe there. Yeah. Yes, there was.
Like congressmen, senators?
I don't know if the one congressman attended that particular closed-door session, but there was one politician that did attend the closed-door session.
So I guess my question is, just based on what you know from this meeting, is there the possibility that this thing is going to be brought to – because this is an important question because we've already gone through the legal process. The corrupt court system has kicked this thing out. Well, is there a possibility this may go before Congress?
I hope so. Because look, here's my take on this, Pete, okay? And for all your listeners, all right, I want to stress the point. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not the first one to fire the first shot. I believe in a peaceful resolution. Okay, my theory is one of two things are going to happen. One, it's going to be presented to Congress with the backing of thousands of law enforcement officials from all across the country standing there saying, here you go. Now what he's going to do about it. And if Congress fails to act, that's when the people will rise up. Because at that point, it's going to be a national, mainstream, no more blackout nonsense.
Right.
The people are going to rise up, and it's not going to be pretty.
So I'm hearing you that these issues that were before you, that you were exposed to, are really that serious to where we have to demand the intervention of Congress.
Exactly. They are so serious. Our country's future is at stake over this. I kid you not. That's how serious this topic is.
Wow.
And I was huge. And like I said, I didn't know Joe, or I didn't know Mike from squat.
Yeah.
And I didn't know he was doing this investigation. I didn't know anything about the birth certificate. I'm not a birther, as the left likes to call us.
Right.
But when I was presented that information, it's the real deal.
Wow. Chief Kessler, thanks for making an appearance. I'm going to be actually speaking to you here in the coming days as you get settled back in. But ladies and gentlemen, we've been inviting Chief Kessler to come on the Guerrilla Media Network, and he will be here as soon as we can make arrangements to get him over. Chief Kessler, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Brother.
We come back. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue on with the news. You heard it from Chief Kessler. He didn't even know about this stuff, was blown away by it, and hopefully this will come to Congress ASAP. Stay right there.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.